time of the preacher in the year of '01, when you think it's all over, it's only begun.
Howdy, pilgrims, and thanks for tuning in to Preacher versus Preacher. It's a comparison companion podcast where each week we compare the TV show Preacher from AMC, ABC. There's an M. Is your mic not up? Your mic was not up, Tom.
Thanks.
Oh, there he is.
Hey,
there he is.
Why are you antsy?
What? All right, so where each week we get together and we recap that versus that, and then we compare it to the book because we love the book. We grew up with this book, you know. And all that good stuff. The book's by Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon, published by Vertigo Comics back in the 90s. Remember the 90s, Tom?
No.
No?
I don't.
Do you did you see any of the 90s?
A little bit of it.
A little bit?
Few years.
You dipped your toe?
Yeah.
You dipped your toe in the 90s a little bit?
The latter end.
the very late end?
Yeah, he had a fetal view.
There you go. Oh, keep going? Should I move along with the show?
I mean,
Is that what that was?
no.
No? All right, I'm sorry. All right, so then, so that's my buddy Tom.
What's up?
What's up? And that's my brother Bob.
Hey, what's up,
You
guys?
probably know us already, and I'm Bill Swing. And then each week, normally you can hear us on the Wicked Theory podcast.
Every Saturday on Mixler at 7 p.m. Eastern.
That's right.
We go live.
Live, folks. There's a little chat room in there, but when we're not doing that, we're doing this.
Yeah, that's a good time. That's fun. It
Yeah.
ends up being silly and goofy,
And nerdy.
and you probably won't get anything good out of it. But it's
As I'm sipping my coffee.
but it's fun.
Oh,
So check it out. It's a
We
good
have a
time.
blast. It's all pop culture related stuff like that. But hey, whatever. No big whoop. You're here for something else, right? You're here to talk about Preacher. To hear us talk about Preacher.
Speaking of,
Speaking of,
Yeah.
this is episode 11.
11 of season 2.
Name of the episode?
Backdoors.
Backdoors.
There's a few reasons for that.
That's in the book.
It's in the book.
Yeah, there's a little.
There's a lot of backdoor stuff in the book.
Yeah.
That's the book, Bell.
Just a little disclaimer on that bell you just heard there.
Yeah. What is that about?
If you're new to the show,
yeah.
since we compare the comic and the television show, we like to ring a bell every time the TV show does something that's derived straight from the comic book.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
It's
9 times
silly.
out of 10, we love whenever that happens. So we
It's-
like to make note of it.
It's very morning
And make
radio.
everyone
but,
know that-
But fuck it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may not hear the bell at all during an episode.
But
It's entirely possible.
but I tell you
with this
what-
show, but
Season
quite
1.
often you do.
Lately, you've been ringing it more than ever.
Yeah, well, that's thanks mostly to Herr Starr.
That's true. That's true.
They seem to be taking a lot of the comic material from the book
It's the
for
air-
him,
yeah.
which is great because that means that maybe we're going to get some of the encounters that we get with him in the book.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all heading that way.
After a couple things they did these past 2 episodes, I think anything's possible
You
at this
thinking
point.
of anything? Anything is possible.
I mean, short of somebody fucking a meat woman, but we passed that already, so we know.
But you never
That's not
know.
gonna happen.
You never know. They could
So-
repurpose that. Like once they've established themselves, because I feel like that's their thing too. It's like in season 1, they were I think they were a little extra cautious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean about what to kind of show and when.
I get it though. I think they
Yeah.
had to be at
Yeah.
that point.
I think they wanted to get a grounding and then
Yeah.
go crazy in season 2.
I'm sorry, I think I missed something. Was I supposed to hit the bell about the meat woman?
No.
No.
Only let's keep it to
It's-
during breakdown.
And straight from the show.
Yeah.
They didn't
Right,
do
right,
that in the
right.
show.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right, we weren't at that moment comparing.
There was meat
So no
meat
bell.
and meat byproducts, definitely.
yeah.
And,
But speaking of the breakdown,
Yeah.
we might as well just get right into it.
Well, we got let's hit a couple things real quick. If people want to email us,
Okay.
they can do it at pvp@wickedtheory.com. Sign it with your Twitter handle. We'll give it a shout out. You can follow us on Twitter at preachvspreach. The show's on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play Music. Subscribe, rate, and review because that shit is the coolest. And
5 stars.
5 stars.
Be
5
nice.
stars are nice.
Please.
You know,
Yep.
we're not asking for a lot.
Sign up on Mixler and follow us.
Yeah, sure. And
Then
you
you get the emails when we go live.
can do that
So-
too. Go to mixlr.com, mixlr.com/wicked-theory.
And you could find an app for Apple products on the App Store. If you just look up Mixler, MIXLR, you can download the Mixler app and stream straight on your phone.
Yeah. It's free to join, all that stuff. So
And when we do these with a Skype guest,
Yeah, you'll get the.
you'll get a notification that we're doing it live, actually.
Right,
Yeah.
and then you can listen in real time.
So it's not just about pushing the other podcast. It's like if you want to try and catch us every now and then when we're doing this, which is at random times. It's not scheduled like hard
Right.
like the regular show.
Well, no,
but
recently we did one with Sarah Netzley, right?
yeah, and it's usually around 8 o'clock.
But for the most
Standard
part, we
Eastern
do
time.
Tuesday night 8 o'clock
Yeah, that's the plan.
because the show airs on Monday. So
Yeah.
there's a little behind the scenes for you guys.
Oh my God, you're telling them the secrets of the sauce.
Yeah,
All right, fuck it. You're inside, kids. That's it.
Just don't give them the secret.
you're all
sauce.
Agent Palmer now.
That's
Well, now I believe he's Ensign Palmer.
Ensign.
According to Twitter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know if that's a lateral promotion or what, but he's on deck, I guess.
All right.
And then
Sounds like a demotion to me, actually.
stick around until after the breakdown. I do have an announcement about the contest.
Ah, cool.
I am going to drop it tonight. It was a last-minute decision I made today. I got all official and on point about it. But we will be giving away a book again, like we did last season.
Yay.
The hardcover Absolute Edition. We'll get into that more later on. If you want to skip to that or try and track it down, whatever. But you should just hang out and take the ride with us. So for now, I think the last thing is just to remind people that if you haven't read the books, we're going to give away stuff about the books. And in turn, that can easily give away stuff about the show. So it's your choice, whether or not you want to stick around or skedaddle.
Right.
And that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
So we implore you to get the books, read the books.
And then come back to us.
And it's a great in-between season plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we tend to bounce around when we talk about this stuff because the show tends to bounce around with using the material from the books.
Right.
So it's to your benefit.
Absolutely. So, Tom,
Yeah, am I doing the breakdown this week?
I think we're going to just jump right into it. I'll ring a bell. How about that? The old season.
Oh, sorry, wrong bell.
Yeah, bro. Bob's ready to go, though. But, Bob, you know what? You can ring it right now because the show opens.
We do. We do get a little bit of the book here.
We do.
We open.
That's right. We get the.
See, this is why. Immediately, see how that? He took it. He hit it because he knew. Like, if I was closer to that fucking bell.
All right. So
I'll be good.
we open up with Jesse.
That was an emotional one because it's a very, very important moment from the story.
Fair enough.
All right. So we open up with Jesse. We get a little bit of the coffin. Just ring that bell one time real quick. There we go.
Fair enough.
Nice one, right?
Right,
Exactly.
Right. That covers the whole scene, though.
Yes,
Okay?
yes. So so Grandma, TC, and Jody.
Right, we don't need 3 bells right now. That's what I'm saying. Fair enough.
are to be assumed. The
Sure,
the 3
absolutely.
people standing there that are
But they are from the book.
that are reeling him out of the swamp.
Right.
He's in the coffin. Grandma asks his name. Little Jesse insists on being Jesse Custer, even though the answer she's looking for is Jesse Langell.
Fair enough.
And then after that response from him, she says more time in the coffin, and they send him right back down. And he's not happy about it, obviously.
No.
the hole.
Down the swamps.
Yeah.
We gotta do the cover. You gotta do the cover, Bob. Not tonight.
down in
Not
the-
tonight.
down in the swamps?
Down in the swamps.
Yeah. All right. So then we jump to the present day swamp,
So yeah, we do jump right to it, but
where the Saint of Killers is
supposed to be
supposedly staying at.
taking a little aqua nap.
Yep.
You heard that light one?
Yeah.
I don't know why that
That
was.
was just Santa Killers.
This is we can't. This is the thing.
This is
All right,
ridiculous now. All right, so Tulip and Jesse. Are Cassidy? Is Cassidy there?
No.
No, right?
No.
Okay, so it's just
He's home with Dennis.
Tulip and Jesse, and
Right.
they're pulling the armored truck from the earlier episodes out of that swamp, which can't really be cheap. I would assume.
That's what I was thinking. That
Well, you
you
just
know.
got to use the word.
That's
I guess
true.
so.
That's going to be the show's way out of everything.
Yeah.
Go on.
So Tulip asks Jesse why he lied and why the Saint isn't in hell.
Right.
She's pretty pissed off about this right now.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And Jesse basically just responds by saying that he couldn't do that to another soul.
Right.
So this to me comes off as him lying again. Because
it's
it's
what
like it's so obvious that the
Yeah.
main reason why he didn't send him to hell was because he didn't want to send a piece of his soul to hell.
Yeah, it's
His
one of
own
these
soul.
Right.
convenient lies where it's
Right.
like it's it's the whole I'm leaving stuff out, white lie kind of thing because he could just as far as she knows that's a reference to Arseface, to Eugene, and and that simply it. But we know that his whole main worry was really about a piece of himself going down there with the Saint. But it's him again.
Yeah.
You know, being not totally forthcoming about shit,
right.
which is it ends up coming to a head later on.
Yep.
Totally different character than on those aspects as opposed to the comic book.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is like a TV thing where, like, to keep suspense sometimes, like, they'll have just characters keep secrets from each other and shit, where it's like, that's how I used to feel about Lost. I'm like, is nobody having a side conversation about what's going on?
Yeah.
How come, like, how come no one's comparing notes? Like,
right.
you know what I mean?
So just to get back to it and to round out that scene with Tulip and Jesse at the swamp, they finally pull the truck up out of the swamp, and it's empty. And the Saint is nowhere to be found.
He's gone skis.
He is gone.
He's gone.
So
he's gone. Where'd he go?
Yeah, well, that's something we could speculate. We really don't get an answer in this episode.
Yeah.
So,
well, we kind of do in the very last scenes, though. And if you saw the
in the previews,
which just like, well, we watched this one all together. Actually, you came over last night, so
I did.
It was like a different experience as we've gone.
The
through
team
this whole
watched
thing.
the whole show together.
Yeah. Scoopily doopily.
We're bonding.
But we all get up crazy early, so we couldn't bother to record right after.
Yeah.
But what was great was that the preview just basically I was. Like, it just told us the entire episode.
Yeah.
Like,
well, when it comes to the Saints storyline, anyways.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anything else they kind of kept.
Yeah. But to get back to it, then we get back to Starr's main office, where he's listening to some old audio reels.
Right, old school stuff.
And I guess later on we kind of find out what that was about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hoover and Flufferman, aka Featherstone.
Right, that's what he calls her.
Right,
when she
they
walks in.
they enter the room.
Which is actually kind of funny because if you know what a fluffer is.
Well, that's what and he says like fluffer man, like fluffer man, like it doesn't, it's like trying hard to nod to that.
Yeah. And so they basically just say how they tell Starr about Jesse and Tulip digging up the truck with the Saint.
Right.
They found the guns, and like all part of their plan basically was to do this.
Yeah.
Hoover apologizes, but the tarp will have to wait, as Herr Starr says.
Yeah, he's got going to get it, and then he's like, "Well, the tarp will wait."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He recruits them for his coup, and he basically gives them a short version of this Messiah, of how the Messiah is a moron, and how he wants Jesse to be the new Messiah.
I think that's a bit of a bell.
Yeah. All right.
Just getting a side note for Saturday.
For Saturday, yeah. Okay. It's a mental note for me.
Put that together how you may. You could probably figure that out at home. All right. But anyway, if you listen to both shows. Anyway.
So basically, Hoover and Featherstone are both in. Hoover waits until it's him and Starr, and then he in the room together, and then he kind of apologizes for his actions and. When it comes to having him raped.
For bringing all the guys over.
Right. So then he also mentions that he's also not right for this current gig with having Jesse take over the role of Messiah. Yeah. That's kind of
well, I think it's
a comic nod as well, no?
Yeah, I think he knows he's really not. I forget how deep he goes with it. Like, if he actually makes a whole speech to him, or if it's just something him and Featherstone exchange more, because him and Featherstone have like a lot of those kinds of exchanges.
Yeah, more personal exchanges.
Yeah.
I think
he's in love with her.
I think you're right. I think it is her.
I would think so. It just feels like more like that's probably how it happened. But anyway.
So then we return to hell.
We're going back to hell.
The warden is testing all of the inmates, showing them crazy images or something. I really couldn't tell what.
Yeah, it's
the
some
pattern on those,
what
the pattern was on those images, because you had like one freaky image, you had one like normal image, one cute image. It was weird.
Yeah, I think it was. I was trying to put it together a little bit, and I only could tell it was like like that said, like it's like a gamut of emotions or something.
So
trying to gauge your evilness, I guess. How do you like? Are you evil enough for hell?
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to be like a representation of a visual representation of the things that go on in your head.
Okay,
sure. Well, you know what? Here's something.
What I mean? Not necessarily like dreams and like these are like, when they show like everyone all these different images weren't really like dreams or anything, but
They did have a
But-
surreal kind of element to them a little bit.
right. But so it's kind of like manifestation of your thought processes, and if they're dark or light,
Right. Yeah.
Kinda way.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, Dave Blass, our buddy that works on the show,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
He's listening to this, I'm sure he'd be a good
Yeah.
guy to
It
let
would-
us
it
know
would
what
be
the
awesome. Yeah, it
direct
would be
pattern on that was. Maybe you could do that
Yeah.
on Twitter or in an email.
Sure.
But
It would be
hey,
awesome to
just-
be able to figure that out.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so we go back to the warden, and she gets a call from what she refers to as New Orleans.
Yeah.
So
It's one of these cryptic calls that she gets. Like,
yeah, and
all right.
about how the Saint of Killers, basically just saying, she basically just says Saint of Killers, right? That he's
Yeah.
out and that he's
Yeah. Well, like, when the other guy goes, the guard goes, well, who was that? And she was like, oh, New Orleans. And he's like, about what? Or about who? Or something to that. So she can just say Saint of Killers with no real, like, explanation.
yeah.
But the question becomes, if the call is coming from New Orleans, it's about Santa Killers. Knowing what we know about next week's episode, is the call coming from the Grail? Maybe is that what it is?
That's the
Grail's
only-
got the direct connection. They got the direct hotline.
Yeah,
Because
that's
obviously they've got more of a direct connection with heaven, as we'll get to with the tapes, than they did in the books. Like in the
Yeah.
books, it's like doesn't really work that way.
No.
Like there's not this connection. That there's some
There's
like
really
mid-level
nothing going on in
guys, yeah.
heaven anymore.
Yeah. Well, not
Yeah.
that they had this connection, I think, to like,
Yeah.
where does he get those tapes from? Like he calls somebody who calls somebody, like, who calls an angel?
Yeah.
Anyway, back to it.
All right. So we go to our buddies Arsface and Tyler, best friends,
Right, yeah, Biffs.
and I'm pretty sure it's Tyler that says to him, "Everyone knows you can't trust Hitler."
Yeah, that's exactly
But Hitler knows stuff.
right, which is the thing you shouldn't, it's good advice.
Yeah,
It's probably the one smart thing he says.
Yeah, I agree. But in this moment, we know, and Arsface both know, that Hitler knows some stuff. We know that he used to be staff in hell.
Right.
And then Tyler gets an idea.
Yeah. And then
And-
we cut to the next scene.
Yeah. And then nothing really comes to fruition on that.
Well, it does, but like you just don't like when it just ends. It's just like
Yeah.
it's like a weird little break end.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So it's like what
Oh, that's right. They do end up, later on.
later on?
But then we go to Dennis's apartment,
Yes.
and Dennis has gotten a dog from Cassidy
Yeah.
as a gift. Mm-hmm. Very cute, very
Aw.
annoying and loud.
Yeah.
But is it lunch?
Not yet. Not yet. I think the clock is ticking on that one.
So Jesse, Tulip, and Cassidy are all in Dennis's apartment talking about the Saint coming.
Yeah.
Back for his weapons, possibly.
Yeah.
Jesse mentions
No,
about
I'm sorry. Before we go too far beyond him
The,
and
the
the
dog.
I just wanted to say, if he decides to make that dog a vampire, I think that show would be jumping the shark.
What's funny is like, I wanted to stop on the dog too, but Bob went left with the vampire thing. But I was thinking I was going to say, does the dog make it to the finale or does he die next week? Because we only got 2 more left.
Right.
Do we make a bet on this? Or that, do you think they'll do the thing where oh no, the dog is all bloody and been eaten and it looks like it was Dennis. And then we find out, no, it wasn't Dennis, but Dennis gets it's like one of those little kind of sitcom-y kind of things that they do sometimes where it's oh, we thought it was this, but it was that. You know what I mean? Where it's they want to accuse him of eating the dog, but he didn't eat the dog. So you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Like something else got the dog.
Right.
But they just find it
Right.
bloody and they're well, oh, fucking Dennis, But meanwhile, Dennis is what ça
Right,
do,
right.
but that's
Giant neighborhood rat.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah.
trying to explain in French that it wasn't me, and then things not working.
it
All right.
wasn't-
That's going to happen at some point. Now that I
Yeah,
think about
yeah,
it, there's going to be some point where those two things aren't working, and there's either more miscommunication or it's a pivotal, or it's going to be the final fight between Cassidy and Dennis, and we're going to get a lot of this screaming and yelling and just trying to listen to the translator during the whole bit.
Yeah.
I could see them doing something like that, very kind of comedy underneath the fucking action or something.
Right. I could see Rogan and Goldberg looking for something like that.
Trying to work that kind of angle.
Yeah, as they're scruffling and yelling at each other. It's all, both of the translators are going at the same time. Hey, well, fuck you. Put it down. Stop. You're hurting me. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so while our trio is standing there, Jesse mentions, or kind of suggests to them about going someplace else.
Yeah.
Kind of getting away, you know.
Yeah.
And Cassidy says, "I hear you have it as VC in the notes."
Vancouver.
Oh, Vancouver. Okay. He says, "I hear Vancouver's great. It's got good meth and nice hiking." and then he says, "How about Bimini?"
Bimini. Jesse says it. Jesse says it. He's like, well, we'll just we could go. Where are we gonna go? I've seen things about Bimini. Bimini looks great, topless girls and the beaches and stuff. And I actually looked it up. Bimini looks pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just another one of these awesome beaches,
Okay.
like you know what I mean, and it's resort and stuff like that. So I mean, I didn't look into it price wise.
But Jesse kind of puts the brakes on this whole Bimini thing.
Yeah.
After he and says that he can only go until he finds God.
Yeah.
And Tulip is in rare form now at this point, and she's irate at
this whole
Jesse,
thing
to say the
escalates,
least.
man. This is where it escalates.
Yeah, this Jesse character this episode, man, very
all
odd.
over the place.
Yeah,
he's kind of all over the place, and so this turns into a thing where he starts getting called out on all his shit, which is finally like the show acknowledging, like, yes, we know he's been selfish, like. Because a lot of people have been saying it, like, oh man, this guy is like so selfish, or or he's really kind of not paying attention to them, like, in a real meaningful way, like,
absolutely.
But
he informs Tulip and Cassidy about how he met Jesus. Well, not Jesus, but his 25th grandson. And
the boy,
right? But he's an imbecile, and then Tulip says God's probably an imbecile too,
right?
And she insists on not even looking for him anymore. And
Jesse's like, well, she's like, why even bother looking for him? And Jesse's like, well, because he created the universe. And like she starts now listing off all the selfish shit. Oh, we went, you said let's go on a road trip.
Right.
Let's find God. We did it. We did it for you. We did it all for you, Jesse. We did it all for you, Damien. And that's a different thing.
yeah,
Okay.
A little different.
A little different. It's religious though. It's got to do with the end of the world. Anyway, the Omen.
True.
And people at home are like, what are they fucking talking about?
Damien the Omen.
And then the dog is barking. It's another one of these scenes where it's like all chaos and chaotic and shit.
Yeah.
And even Cassidy starts yelling at him, but Tulip's like, what did you lose? Like, what did you lose? And that damn dog is going.
And Jesse kind of puts it together.
Yeah,
Bingo.
right.
The dog, and he kind of has like a little vision about the Messiah's notebook, and like we get a little page turn.
Doggy after doggy after doggy.
And he kind of has like a revelation that God's in the dog suit, and then Jesse leaves on his own, basically.
Yeah, they won't come with him.
They won't go with him.
Yeah, they're like,
even though he
you're on your
asks.
own. And he asks, and Cassidy's even like, on a rewatch, I was like, oh shit, that's fucked up. Cassidy's like, well, he's not coming after us. He's looking for you.
Yeah.
Because he's like, because Jesse goes on about the saint, like the saint's going to come. He's like, well, he's looking for you, so I'll see you later.
Right.
You had to watch that twice to catch that? I caught that right away. I was like,
well, it's certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You never know.
But he goes back to the bar, or whatever you want to call that, in Louisiana, that the dog suit was in the basement,
right,
and nobody's there. So I'm thinking maybe they kind of got the heads up that he was coming, possibly, or he's just a little early. He got there.
That's what I thought. I was like, now you go to the guy at the front and you go, oh, okay, what time is the show starting?
Yeah.
Back, like I want to try hard not to drop any semen on the fur. You know what I mean?
That sign was great. Yeah. So then we go back to hell, and that lady with the 50s hair. That
Yes.
I believe.
Nice voice.
That's literally her character name. In the credits.
I believe they do say though in an earlier episode that she was a teacher that killed her whole classroom.
Something like that.
believe that's what it was.
A bunch of kids.
Yeah, she's in the seat with the warden, and she's going through like that picture slideshow again.
Yeah.
Test type thing.
Detector. They got him hooked up to like a lie detector looking thing.
Right. So the caveman.
They got him blocking the security camera.
Yeah.
Because that's what he says before they go to commercial. Because when they're in hell still, and it's like, oh, Tyler says something at the very end. He's like, oh, get the duct tape. Let's have some fun. That's what it was. Because I remember it was like, let's have some fun. Now I just realized, oh yeah, he taped him up to the camera. That's what he did.
Yeah. So Tyler. So Arseface and
Tyler and so yeah, these guys blocking the camera, so
Yeah,
these guys can go down the hall.
right, they open the door, and Hitler has a key shoved up his ass.
Yeah,
For I guess a secret room, kind of like a headquarters type of room. I
Well,
don't know. They didn't really explain what room.
Turns
it was.
out, no. So on the rewatch, because I was lost too when we were watching, I was like, "Oh, what room are they actually going into?"
Yeah.
But it's his cell. He's just got a key for his own cell. I think is what it comes down to, or it's like a master key for all the cells, because he was.
It was shoved up there pretty good.
Yeah, well, it's a big fucking key,
Yeah.
and I'm sure getting it out is like a whole other issue.
It must be hell.
It's what you do. But because he was janitor, he was a custodian at one point, and used to be on the staff, so he boofed that, as the kids say in Rikers.
Right.
Boof.
Well, he was never going to get promoted from that one after being Hitler and doing what he did.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. Let's not forget he's a bad guy.
Definitely not. So then they open the door to Hitler's cell.
Yep.
And Tyler wants to see what happened. Like, what's Hitler's worst memory?
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And we go to it. Same scene that we've gotten now, I think the third time this season. Same flashback for Hitler, which doesn't bother me.
I think what it is that they broke it up the first time we see it, so it might feel like 3 times. But
so we're in Munich, 1919.
yeah, it's a good time to be alive.
Back there, seeing the full story unfold. Basically, just his events with his girlfriend rejecting him, homosexual rejecting his artwork, and a Jew eating the last of the plum cake in the restaurant, which
This
basically
happens like 5 minutes.
sets him off and makes him, I think, as Tyler says, blew up Europe.
Right. That's why you did it.
Right. So it's basically just to display how weak he is, and like how they show that quick scene when he gets the gun from the communists that enter the restaurant, and he just gives it back to him. Doesn't even have the courage to shoot him or
he's finally got
yell
that
at him or
one.
nothing.
Yeah, he's got that one moment finally where he's got some power right there, and it's like, no, I'm just a soft little man.
Right.
So
we go back into the holding cell, and Arseface asks, "Did you really start World War II because of plum cake?"
Right.
And what I forgot
So
what he
now,
responds then at that point.
At that point, well, because he says to him, he says that that was the day that the last day that I had anything good left in me.
Right.
So with that, I think then they is that cut from there? What happens? Wait a minute, where's the notes?
I think it cuts, and then it goes back to the warden, and she comes in, and she's testing. She goes to test R's face.
Right at that moment, she takes
and
him
then
out.
When he gets in there at about the same time, Hitler wants the attention of the group.
He's like, everyone, please listen to me.
After a few tries, gets the full attention of the room.
Everyone, please.
Right.
So polite.
Right. He needs help, and Tyler says, "Why plum cake?" And the whole room bursts into laughter.
That was great.
And he says, "Bill, I'll let you do it because you you'll put on a better accent than I can."
Because I am Adolf fucking Hitler.
Much more intensely.
Yeah, we have neighbors, so I didn't want to go hog wild with it.
But they said the F word.
Yeah. And, a lot of people, some confusion because they did do it in season 1. And even David Blass noted on Twitter that, they had ducked it out because Jesse says, fuck God. Yeah. And even though it's in there and they shot it, they did a bit of audio dampening, I think is the phrase he used. They damped it on the audio, something like that. I mean, pretty much it sounded like it was completely out to me in my memory, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just really low. But either way. So it's like they're going to use that one F-bomb a season. And somebody else had said during the week that, like, I think Breaking Bad had that rule too. But they didn't always use it. But maybe they did. And I just...
Then why isn't Walking Dead using it for fucking Negan?
You would think. You would think. Yeah.
So then we go back to Tulip and Cassidy.
Right.
Tulip gets an idea. She picks up the guns, and she's going to go meet up with Jenny. Dennis is there as well. Mm-hmm. But Tulip leaves, and I'm kind of lost here on who says what here. You have in the notes. You like her? I don't know.
Oh well, that's Dennis saying it to him.
Oh, about Tulip, right?
Yeah, about Tulip. Oh, you like. I can see that you like her.
Right. And then he does this whole thing where it's like, just take her. Just.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, Tulip." And he's
just
like,
make her a vampire, basically. Right.
Or just take her and then discard her. Basically.
Right. Just like take her sexually and then toss her away.
Yeah, like rape her and dump her.
Right. But then
It's what we do.
It's yes, exactly. He says it's what we do, and
Like, I'd like to take
Cassidy's
a sidetrack.
kind
I'd like
of-
to take a sidetrack right here for a second and just say, I hope it's just because he's a vampire and not because he's French that he has all these fucking fucked up fucking.
yeah.
I think it's just because he's a prick.
Right.
He just happens to be a French prick.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what? That's what it comes down to, really. Because, like, if you look at a guy like Cassidy, as much as he's got other prickish things, he doesn't give into these all this wanton bullshit and these impulses.
He's ultimately a self-destructing prick that takes people down with him.
Whereas Dennis is like a hurricane, probably more like.
Dennis is really just
especially
like,
now that he's in power.
I don't give a fuck about anybody else, and now I have power over those people, so it's going to be even worse.
Right. Roy.
Right. But Cassidy insists on getting the dog back from
Yeah, he's like, give me the dog. Give me the dog.
Dennis because I guess he's worried about what he's going to do.
Yeah,
to him.
he's suddenly worried about because Jesse.
Which is good.
Because
Which is
Jesse
good,
threw
'cause-
it at him.
Yeah.
Well, he threw it at Jesse
Dennis-
back and forth. Yeah.
Dennis is unhinged at this point. I think we could all agree with that.
Yeah.
So then we go back to Jesse and Starr, and Jesse's in the main Grail office.
Right.
We're going to assume that that's in Louisiana somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And he asks Starr, without the word, did you know it was the man dog?
Right.
And then
Then
Starr
he-
says no, and then he says the same thing again, using the word, and Starr replies with the same thing.
Yeah.
Still doesn't know. Starr says that God's become disenchanted, so having him back is a great idea. This is what
He's posing
Jesse
that,
says.
actually,
I
yeah,
apologize.
well, he says to Jesse, so basically, is having God come back such a great idea?
Right.
I forgot to put an is in there.
Right.
Like is because that's Herr Starr's presentation on this situation is that if God comes back, he's not going to be that great. Like
Right.
even if he came back, he's not into it anymore.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So Jesse just really wants forgiveness from God,
Right.
and forgiveness for basically getting his father killed.
Right.
So
And Jesse's like, how do you know that? How do you know about
right,
that?
right from that, Herr Starr plays some tapes, possibly what he was listening to earlier in the episode.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Because those did say Custer on them. I noticed that in the first watch. I was like, oh, those say like Jesse Custer on it? And then
And
it just went off to the side for a while.
Yep, and he says, "Let's listen." And then we jump right to Tulip and Cassidy. Mm-hmm. They're at a smelting place.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tulip and Jenny,
Right.
rather.
Mm-hmm.
They're at a smelting spot.
A smelting spot.
Um,
You smelt it.
so the
dealt
smelter
it.
won't. Right, that is a catchphrase on their sign. You
On the
smelt.
sign.
You smelt it.
You
dealt it. We smelt it.
We smelt it.
Right.
Right. Which was so distressed and broken down. Like, I didn't even really think it was a sign to bother reading.
Right.
Because at first I did kind of see like, oh, there's all that text there, and I didn't really look very
Yeah,
hard. And then everybody on the web was like,
No, I had said
well,
it
you
last
said
night right
you
away.
said it. Yeah.
But anyways, what we get out of this is that the smelter won't smell loaded guns.
Yeah.
So basically, instead of just unloading them themselves,
Well, they couldn't get them open.
right?
That's what it was.
They couldn't get them open. So Featherstone offers basically a BJ, and
She
just
does
said-
this thing. I'm like, what kind of fucking show is this
right,
going to be?
right.
Yeah, really.
This
But,
Jenny gets
Jenny-
down.
This
But,
is her
uh,
alter ego. This is where this is the bad girl side of her coming out.
It's underneath. I was undercover. I had to do it. It was part of the job.
But a BJ is not the only thing she offers.
Right,
She
right.
also offers the threat of false sexual assault claim,
Yeah.
or
Oh, yeah, there
just
was-
call the
there was
cops
that.
in general.
Right.
You
Like
know,
her cousin or some shit. There's like
Right.
a county guy. She starts making up that shit.
right.
So the guy's like, all right, fuck it, right?
Right. So the gloves come out, and he puts the guns in the smelter.
That's it.
And when they come out,
Right.
they're not even hot. They're
Right.
untouched
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
They didn't melt at all.
They like magic or something.
4,000 degrees in that thing and didn't melt at all.
Right. Right. So we're back in hell, and it's Ours Face's turn to watch Hell TV.
Nice.
That little slideshow thing we've been talking about all
Nice.
episode.
It's good stuff.
Hitler has everyone singing a church hymn, so he can sneak Ours Face down down the hole, I should say.
Right.
Basically, just to distract the warden and her
Right.
partner, and get them to go to the room where
Ours
everybody's
Face is
being held. Right. So.
It's all a little bait and switch kind of thing.
It's right. And does Hitler end up meeting up with him and Tyler and jumping down the hole with them too?
No, it's just Hitler in Arseface because he's like, just jump, just go down there.
Right,
and
right,
Hitler and Arseface, I forget what he says, And by the way, like, you know, another thing I noticed is that, like, I don't even think they're trying at all, like, with Arseface anymore. Like, you know, they're just like, just be as juicy and as incoherent as you feel like being. Like, we don't even have to do second takes with you.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was thinking about. I was like, they don't even have to do second takes. Like, if he like can't be heard, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, if he's too illegible,
they're going to put the dialogue on the bottom anyway.
right?
Yeah.
So like any scene he does, like unless they don't like his take or his mannerisms, is good to go. Like you
Right,
know,
yeah.
it's never like, oh, it's too mumble.
He's just got to totally miss his marks.
That one was too wet. We really couldn't hear the T's. Like, come on, like you know.
You're absolutely right. I have been noticing that more recently.
It was so like indecipherable.
Yeah, it was really, really indecipherable this week.
Yeah. So then we jump back to Louisiana, where Tulip mails the Saint of Killers stuff, like his guns and his all of his weapons,
to Brazil.
right to Brazil, and one of his
says-
swords go right through the bottom of the mailbox.
Right.
Right, because it's just a sword wrapped with shipping tape,
That's it,
basically,
you know, and
with an address on the handle.
And it's like, you know,
It's totally shaped like
it's
a
like
sword.
demon metal or something like that. So it's like,
Well, it's that whole joke of the Christmas gift joke you always see on TV, where the gift is shaped like the item inside.
No, absolutely.
And it's wrapped. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
right. But I just mean the fact that it even punctured the metal of the bottom, because I was going in that direction with.
That's
where,
true.
You know, but
And it did do it quite easily.
yeah, I had to pause it to see it because I was trying to watch it last night and see where it was going to, and I didn't catch it really, but it was to Brazil from Anonymous. Like,
Okay.
that's it. Like it's like a sixth grader fucking
Right,
was like, you know, like to the North Pole from
Right.
Cindy. Like,
Well, that's probably perfect, though.
yeah, that's like in that wheelhouse of
Yeah.
this
She
thing.
is 6, basically.
Right, that we've been
mentally.
saying, like she's got some
Right.
regressed
But
kind
no,
of thing.
on every level, though, that works because it's like it's her, number one.
Right.
It's perfect for not being found.
Right, it'll just
Ouch,
end up.
you know what I mean?
Right, who
Yeah.
knows where it'll go?
If it gets to once it gets to the post office, someone's gonna be like, "What the hell?" And,
Right.
and they're not gonna have anything to do with it. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
So then we head back to Starr's office, where Jesse is listening to a ton of his prayers.
Yeah,
And just
it-
to mention a couple things, we hear about Donnie quick. We
mentions,
hear
like,
about how he robbed a zoo.
yeah. Well, that's I want to know more about the zoo.
Like, what did he rob? Did he rob like animals?
You
Well,
know?
maybe that's where they got the Komodo dragons from.
Maybe.
Right?
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
But
there are like a couple hundred of those left on the planet. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to see him, but I just kind of like picture him having like to punch a mule or like some kind of animal, get into some
like
kind
an
of
ape or something.
Yeah,
It's
something
like
he's gonna have to
squaring
get,
up with like an ape.
Yes, that's right. Something stupid, you know.
Or like a kangaroo, like that video.
Oh, exactly.
But
Just walking up and being like,
yeah. Yeah. But then Herr Starr says to Jesse, if you want to save your soul, you need to do something big. Join
Right.
me, perhaps.
Yeah.
Basically is what he says. So then we get a quick flashback to the coffin again.
right.
It's being raised out.
Right. Oh, because he plays one more tape for him.
Right.
That's what it is. He's got one more tape, and that's what triggers the flashback.
Okay.
Because
right.
it's really what he says. Because
Right,
that
right.
thing he does with the grandmother in this turn, or even the last one, probably, like it's considered a prayer, I guess. So it's on the tape.
Yes, true.
Right. But as you were saying,
Right. So once little Jesse is raised out of the coffin, Grandma asks him again, "What's your name?" And he says Jesse, and she says, and he says Langell, and
and what else? And then he says, thank you, God, and for as I killing my dad and bring him home." So it's just it's
Right.
this repeated thing that's just exactly what she wants to hear. And this is all Bob fucking hit the bell basically, because while it's not quite exactly the reason he goes in there, she's not just all about like take this whole thing about dad. Like
Yeah.
it's that's part of it, but it led to what I mean. So it's not as upfront, but it's all there. It's all
right.
there.
And then we get a quick shot of a scene that that shows Angelville Gator Tours. So this is kind of like an all-purpose destination.
If it's
Angelville. They sell souls, angel tours,
if it's a-
circuses and shit.
if it's a bayou-ish type thing,
Yeah.
they dabble. It seems. But the Gator Tours, I think, feels like a thing that seems about right, though, because that might even be in there one shot where that's
maybe.
when they're having that little adventure, and then like the movie stars come in.
Yeah.
I think they might have kind of like sold their services at first.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I forget what the setup on that was.
Was that when Jesse and TC were not Jesse
Jody.
Jody and TC had taken some guys on like a tour of the
Yeah, well,
area, and they ended up like kicking the guy's asses.
Yeah, I think because some people they run into out there, and one of them's like a movie star.
Yeah, I don't
think.
remember
think there's,
exactly.
Like a movie production going on.
Yeah, and it was the movie star and the
Some blonde or something.
Yeah, the blonde that was on the tour.
And it's like a guy in a vest.
Yeah. He was trying to get on her because he was a movie star and she was into Jody because Jody could have one up him at every turn.
Yeah, it's really
outman
fucking,
him. At
yeah,
every turn.
it's so goofy. That's where like the slapsticky kind of in that story.
Yeah.
That's where it comes through hard. Like,
Look, we got a Better Call Saul. We better get like a fucking Jody and TC.
Oh my
spinoff.
God!
We
Could you
better.
imagine
We better.
the early days
All right.
when they were teens?
Right. So let's just jump back into it.
Let's jump back into it because we're almost done with it, and
Right.
we're coming up to like a really great part of this scene here.
Yes. So Jesse is kind of in awe looking at the tapes, and he says, "All mine,
Right, he's all mine.
everyone." And Herr Starr says, "You've won the copies."
Right? We can make you copies.
Right.
You know.
And Jesse, while walking out of the office, says, "No, it's all right. Why don't you shove them up your ass?"
Shove 'em up your ass.
Using the fucking
Using
word.
Genesis.
And then as he's leaving, like you can kind of hear some noises coming out of the office a little bit. You know, he's
Yeah.
doing something in there.
Yeah. And
Some
he
rustling.
uses the word to force the secretary to let him go.
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
doesn't.
guy at the desk.
But it doesn't work at first.
Right. It took him like 3 times. Right?
Yeah, on the third try, where like he had to kind of focus a little bit and concentrate. So, any theories on that before?
I just think it was maybe that he was like not fully paying attention, and I know that like they do this thing with the word on the show where it's like you have to fully be listening. You can't have headphones on or anything like that. So
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I would have to watch it again. I
Yeah.
only watched this episode once.
Could be
But-
just through distraction.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
a personal assistant, and for someone like Herr Starr, you're not gonna break your focus for long.
You don't think it might have been anything like internally in Jesse that like having this kind of like the whole Angelville conversation might have shook him a little bit, and,
possible.
and then like
I
coming
just don't
out
know
of
how
that,
it
like
could affect-
it's like he doesn't, he's kind of like you're saying that the focus on his end is thrown by that more than anything.
But he
else.
gets Herr Starr to fucking shove all those tapes up his ass.
Like in that instant, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. But as he's walking out, he's kind of thinking about it. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
wondering
know.
if, but I am wondering if it's a thing like that's like the first step and a hint of it being like a thing that, by whatever means that was. Like are we going to see this again? Where it's like the voice is like there, but it's like crackly. It's a little buzzy as opposed to just echoey and boomy sounding.
That
On
would
the
be weird.
rewatch, it was like he was trying to tune it in.
That would be strange and original because we haven't seen that in the comic really at all.
Yeah,
that never really happened. So
Yeah.
that would actually be cool to see. But
Depends on how they play with it, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a fair idea because they've been kind of playing with the word and how it works anyway.
So anyway, we were at letting him out the door, right?
Right.
So we haven't gone back to Herr Starr's office yet.
No, that's true. Which is basically the last.
But
beat.
we do take a quick break from that, and when we see the mailman arriving at Tulip's
Real-
favorite mailbox.
really don't see much. Just that they came, they picked it up.
Right. And then we go back to Starr, hard at work, doing what he was told by Jesse.
There you go.
And he says, Custer has left us no choice.
Right. So he's talking to Featherstone, giving her some kind of order, basically, do the deed, as he's shoving like just
Reams and
Reams.
reels and reels of audio tape.
I guess when
Yeah.
you can't get any more in,
Old-fashioned audio
you're
tape
done,
too.
right?
Yeah.
It's the thick, wide stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is our
This is not
go
cassette
fuck
tape.
yourself from the comic with Sheriff Root.
Right. Yeah.
I think this is the furthest we're gonna get.
I did wonder last night though. Might this become like a running gag with him? Like when he runs into him, and it's always fucking shove it up your ass, and every
Yeah.
night, and he's just constantly like, well, not constantly, but every time
And he
ends up.
develops.
That wouldn't be a bad thing, I don't think, because of the way that Herr Starr's played in the book.
Yeah, it runs in line with that. Like if that
Yeah.
turned into a little bit of a run gag, or
Yeah,
happens
I
a couple
would-
times.
I would still like to see a lot more of the stuff from the book that happens to Herr Starr along with that.
Yeah. There's a lot of sour turns for that dude.
Yeah, the whole scalp thing.
And the scalp, all the body disfigurement, basically.
Yeah, basically.
So then,
That's right. I almost forgot about the catheter.
there's that. There's just.
But I'll have you read that last one.
So we cut to a warehouse, and this is the real armored truck, and inside is Hoover. You can kind of hear him a little bit. And he's like, okay, good.
Glad we have a deal, he
Glad we
says.
have a deal. Do what you got to do. The door opens up. No, do what you do. And the door opens up, and he just fucking
Guns
runs.
it out,
He
right?
guns it out of there
Yeah.
as fast as he possibly can. But
I guess the Saints in there with him.
so the Saints in there. It looks like they switched out the trucks, and because they knew that they were at the swamp. They know what they pulled out of there. This was like the kind of the setup for it at the beginning of the episode.
Right.
That they were already talking about it at the Grail, and they've made some kind of deal with. What was that? Sounds like a marching band coming in.
Yeah.
They've
That's
made
the neighbor upstairs.
fair enough. They've made some kind of deal with Santa Killers on some level,
Which makes sense.
which kind of which makes sense in general. It follows the book.
Not really though, because
Not
he ends up
really.
rolling through Masada at one point and ends up being like the main destruction of the Grail. Like Jesse could have never really defeated the Grail as much as he did without
Yeah.
the Saint Killers.
Well, the thing is, too,
doing
like-
all that destruction.
In the book too, this kind of does match up the book though. In the idea that like when the Santa Killers finds out that like, oh, I'm not like God's not in office. I'm not beholden to that. It changes the dynamic of what he's going to do with himself, and he just focuses then on Jesse. And then it becomes like, okay, I'm not like, like it's not about God sending me. It's just I just want revenge on Custer. Like it changes, like his motivation changes on it. So I think this is their way of setting that up a little bit. Where like, well, if you want your guns back, at the very least, like theorizing what might happen next week when we see how it went down. Like, well, if you want all your guns back, he's got them, and if we have connections to heaven and hell or whatever, and if you ever want to get into heaven where your best shot, and you see your daughter and all that again, and your wife.
And it also sets up an easy way for Featherstone, aka Jenny, to rob the guns somehow, or take the guns off of Tulip's hands.
Well, no, they're in the mailbox now. The post office picked them up.
Right.
So at the very
did
least,
they pick them up though?
Yeah, well, they came for them.
Right,
they came to the,
right, okay.
the
Yeah,
mailman came to the box to retrieve it. So at the very
Was it a
least,
mailman or was it it was someone from the Grail dressed as a mailman?
now that's another angle. Could be.
That's possible. But that's a good point, Bob.
Intervening and intercepting them. That's a good point.
If they want to get the Saint Killers back under their control, they're going to need those guns.
And if they're under surveillance as good as they're supposed to be, then Jenny, was right there with her, so she could have made that happen. It's not,
very easily.
they're in the know on that. It's not like so you're right, and they could possibly be giving them all back. Although in that preview, we don't see any guns,
Right.
So I'm thinking that they may not have them. He doesn't have them yet, and now Jesse's like probably going to have to help him retrieve them or something, or you got to help me find them, or I'll choke out Tulip again, or something. But where are they going to be? Are they going to be at the post office? Are they going to be,
I would hope if it was a legit post man or woman, they would have turned them into the police or something.
Well,
at
that's
that point.
the thing I was thinking. Like in the real world, probably like the feds would be involved by now.
Right.
Like
Well, yeah, but you got to remember too that the Grail is everywhere. So as soon
that's
as
as soon as I thought it, I thought that.
even
That's true.
even even if a mailman did pick them up and bring them in,
Right.
they're gonna throw an obvious, hey, what are these?
yeah, it's going to come up on the radar somehow.
So, so
They'll intercept it again at some point.
right,
Yeah.
No matter which way it goes, it's almost like the Grail will catch it,
Right.
because it's in those channels.
right,
They're all known.
and it is TV convenience as well.
Ooh, boy, doesn't everybody love that? So
That's it for the episode.
that's it for the episode. Any other thoughts, theories, or whatnots?
I really have no clue what's going to happen for the rest of the season. I really don't have any strong theories about where the story's going to go.
Yeah, I really don't either.
I mean, there's not much to theorize about, I don't think, right now.
Well, they're definitely setting up the family. So
Yeah,
I mean, and the Angelville backstory.
But they were
stuff.
so discreet with like showing faces.
But
and-
here's the thing. I think the reason for that is that Jesse and TC are just not Jody and TC are just not cast yet.
Yeah, exactly.
But she is. Grandma is. But because she's got to look present day old.
Right.
That it's just easier to have her in shadow as a flashback than try and do like some other actress. but keep the voice or do this kind of stuff. I think that's the only reason she's in the shadow. It's not like because she's totally
Right.
somebody's been cast already.
Okay.
And
It's convenient that it's coming back to him in a memory as well.
yeah, and that's the other thing. So it's got this kind of haziness to it all, and
It
you know,
I loved what they did with that scene. It felt a lot like the flashbacks in the book.
yeah,
It really did. It had that same tone.
yeah. Well,
And that was like the first really.
Yeah, that was pretty
Like-
much directly from the book.
Right.
Yeah,
The
that's
whole
what,
bit with the coffin and everything.
yeah, all that shit, and even like you're saying, even like the color palette probably too a little bit, because I think the color palette was a little shifted out of normal
Right.
for that flashback
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely-
It's all
absolutely
cool
was.
tones and blues and shit like that.
But I'm excited about the show. Finally, I'm excited about where it's going. I
Yeah.
think season 3 is going to be really good.
It's
We're
looking
setting
that
up a
way.
lot of good things.
Yeah,
I think we'll
I think
get
so.
more Grail shit in that season, of course. So I don't know how many more reveals with the pertaining to the Grail that we're gonna get for the rest of the season.
well, I think that I got a feeling that the grandma stuff is gonna last a while. It's gonna be like the whole season.
Yeah.
Because that's what
Yeah.
shows do. Much
Yeah.
like this season and the season before it, it's all about building a set, and then like we got a location
Yeah.
for like, and we're here for a while.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Well,
the
yeah,
budget.
well,
that's
well, they're
budgeting. You
telling-
know what I mean?
Yeah, they're telling the whole all story and basically in chapters.
Well, that's true too. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, it's 10, 13, whatever it is every season. It's telling one basic story that's part of a larger whole,
yeah. I mean, yeah, that's going on too.
more or less.
Yeah, and it's a
Whereas,
thing.
like season 1 had nothing to do with anything,
Well, that's right. Well,
more
yeah,
or less, unless thankfully they put Quinn Cannon in there.
yeah, to kind of
So,
bring that into,
but-
without
scope of it.
without
Yeah.
that.
Not that it
you know,
wasn't a bad season. It was actually a very entertaining season.
right.
You know, but so then they did it then, and then they went back and did it again this season.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's
with the
looking like
story.
that's the kind of thing. So we might even get Jesus Desaad next season, because if it's a
Psy.
thing, Psy, depending on which one.
I don't think we're gonna get him. I think you just want him. I think you've been dying for.
I think we
for
all
Cy.
want
No, I think that's better. I think that's easier for TV than Jesus Desaad.
Well, here's the
Yeah,
thing. I
that's
think what
true.
we're going to get like this season is.
I feel like we got to get him in New York though.
But that's the thing. I think New York's
You know what
being
I mean?
saved for when we leave this southern stuff. It's.
Right.
I think that's a season 4 thing, where it's like, or 5, where it's like, all right, we're switching gears now. We're going to New York City, folks.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's going to feel like a very different show. Like, you know what I mean? But I think that's like maybe like a hope or a plan.
I
Is
think
to shift us out of the southern states as we head north or something. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. I think it just dawned on me that I think that where they might be heading the rest of this season. Cassidy and Tulip are separating themselves from Jesse, so at some point, Cassidy goes to New York by himself. Right? Tulip's got her own issue.
Yeah, yeah.
They've already had Tulip's issue, so they might end up going to New York together.
Yeah, you
'Cause
never know what the.
remember,
Well,
Dennis has been talking to him about keeping her.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And there is that whole time period where he's got her all doped up in the book.
Right.
So
Yeah, but that's
we,
all. That's
we might be getting some kind of combination of stuff like that.
That stuff's possible. I think the very least, that the whole thing with Dennis is going to end probably with a way where like Cassidy, that's part of Cassidy's like walking away from the group, you know what I mean? Or if like they both get snatched up by the family like they do in the book, that like it'll be part of the way why he's not around when they get snatched up. Like, you know what I mean? Dennis will be
Right.
the thing that brings him over to some other area or place to handle while these two get snatched up off the street, or whatever, by Jody and TC, if that's the way they follow it. But as a reminder, Cooper, Dominic, I just called him Dennis Cooper. Dominic Cooper has kind of like said a couple times in different interviews that like, big crazy thing at the end of the season, which we tend to believe is Tulip done.
Yeah, that's true.
So we
Right.
still got that in the wings. Is the kind of thing you
Yeah.
got to remember too. But let's jump to a couple of Twitter tweets that came in, and then we'll start heading towards wrapping it up. From Alex Jameson on the Twitters, I put out, hey, if you got questions, thoughts, or theories. So he's got a theory that is that Jesse's dad might have sent Tulip away to save her from the Langels, like when they were kids.
Yeah.
And like, she talks about, I guess, she knew them when they were young and all that. that maybe even Tulip was around, since they're combining everybody's background and stuff. And that would make sense because, she talks about the orphanage and all that, and that's kind of follows the book a little bit because she did go to orphanage after her father passes away from,
Getting a
wow.
getting shot.
getting shot in the face.
That's from the book.
That's from the book. But we're just talking.
It's Tulip, but it's from the book.
Well, it's just a theorizing, so it's not a bad idea. I like it. It's not the craziest thing.
Nope.
It's pretty
It
solid.
it's got it's good rationale.
Dom kind of touched on this a little bit. This is from Jay Marksman. With the prayers in Preacher, this episode, season 2, number 11, do you think we could still get Go Fuck Yourself? I'm not sure what it ties with the prayers, but do you still think we can get the Go Fuck Yourself? Also, is Hitler the only one allowed to say fuck, which we mentioned earlier is not the case. They get like one a season. But so I think we can still get the Go Fuck Yourself. I think it's one of these things they might have stashed away and they're like, well, you could put that in the back pocket.
Yeah, they could do that with anybody. It doesn't necessarily have to be.
They can make
Sheriff
that
Root.
what Herr Starr does to do something that's from the book.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I was saying too. Like, when Herr Starr basically gets his shit eaten off by a dog, like they could just have Jesse tell him that, go fuck yourself. And once again, indirectly, it's a thing about Jesse telling him to put shit up his ass, and that's how it could be a bit where it's like, I didn't tell him the same thing every time, but in the end, every time he ended up putting something up his ass. Right. So I think there was one more here. Let me see if I can track it down. Scoobly doobly doots. Oh, this was it from Apple Stone. Gonna say it openly. I'm calling it on the God also being, because now we're talking about God being in the dog suit, and because God can transform himself, probably at will. That maybe the dude next to Jesse in the bar who says, the end of the world stuff that looks like George R.R. Martin. Right. Maybe that guy really was God too, because that was the theories, right? That people were like, oh, it's that guy, or it's the guy in the dog suit. Right. So with that, like, I think this is a decent theory where it's like, well, if it's God, he could just look like whatever he wants, whenever he wants.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that would be an interesting twist on the show. Because
so what I was thinking was that maybe we could have even seen him multiple times. Right. Maybe that was him as the old professor in the bar that was sitting there with Cassidy and the father, and just so happened to be there and translate.
That's a good point, because it's like, why would that?
That was such a weird kind of thing. It felt off and so super convenient even for this show. So that's the theory I'm going to run from Apple's theory. I'm going to switch it over to that. That I bet you there's, like, seen him a few times.
Yeah.
That's definitely feasible.
It's totally feasible. All right, so I'm going to.
If you learn anything from watching The Flash, anything's possible.
Anything goes. All right, I'm going to open up the emails, see if there's anything in the email. I could play this. Emails. Oh, yeah, emails. Let's see if there are any. I'll probably play the music a little soon, I think, maybe.
A little premature?
A little premature.
Well, let's find out.
Oh, boy. All right, so stalling a little bit.
It's loading.
It's loading. I got the hamster in the right wheel. I didn't have it wasn't in the right wheel first.
Loading. No
emails.
Bill's email is loading.
No emails.
Wow, loading with nothing in it. That's
good. That's good. That's why it took so long, because it was empty. All right,
I had to check again. It was like, are you sure?
So, last thing really to kind of go over that I hinted at earlier is this contest. So it's called the Preacher Absolute the PvP Absolute Appreciation Contest. So here's how this goes.
Can you say that 5 times fast?
I barely said it once.
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 Once?
Oh boy, here we go. And when I wrote this out too, I'm like, oh my God, I'm barely gonna get through this. If these guys start stepping on me, I'm gonna lose it every time. All right, so let me try and be official about this.
Yes,
all right,
just start from the top, bro.
Okay. So now here's how this is gonna work. The grand prize is an edition of the Absolute Preacher book. That's a hardcover, oversized edition. They've got 2 volumes, and the third one has just been solicited, so that's going to be available soon. But you could pick 1, 2, or 3, depending on if you got one already. And the runner-up is going to get a season 2 poster that I got from the comic shop, Comic Book Jones, and so we'll be able to do something with that because.
Thank you, Comic Book Jones.
So thank you, Comic Book Jones, very
in a
much.
big way. Good guys over there.
Nice guys. So, like I said, Absolute Preacher. That's $150 retail value. It's worth getting. It's worth fighting for. Chad NV, a regular listener, he won one last year. He loved it. He sent me pictures of it, and I was very jealous. It's like this. It's just so big. Like, you know what I mean? It's so big, but it's got
it's got stuff from the script, right?
It's got a script in there, at least one issue in script. It's got all kinds of extra stuff, and I don't know how many issues each volume runs, but it's probably, I think it's like 30 issues, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, very cool.
The thing is very cool. So now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, how am I going to win this? How am I going to get this? So the question really comes down to how hard can you promote this podcast in the next couple of weeks? So think of it like that we need a street team. We need you're going to run like a personal preacher versus preacher campaign kind of thing. The idea is that, you know, you're out there, you've got Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, but maybe you're a little creative. Maybe you can make web graphics. Maybe you want to make us a theme song, original art. Maybe you want to do a graffiti mural, YouTube video. But the idea is that to help us get the word out about us, about preacher versus preacher. So the idea is whatever you do, whatever you make, put it out there, and then tag it with Preach vs. Preach. If you can, add us on it. But at the very least, you have to hashtag it Absolute PVP. Now, if you're worried that we're not going to see or find or catch everything, the best way for you to be sure that we do is to send us an email with all of it compiled. If you go crazy and you do like a whole bunch of tweets and a whole bunch of art stuff, you really want to make sure that we see it. Or if you, like, that's not your angle and you do actually make a theme song, and you just want to send it to us, that's fine too. Because here's the thing: this is how this is going to be. This is how this is going to be. Winners are going to be chosen based on creativity, the breadth of exposure, and like the level of commitment to a thing. So, like, you know, anybody could kind of take it. Like, just because, you know, you put out a whole bunch of tweets, you know what I mean? That's awesome. You very well might get the book, but maybe somebody else does something that's even more spectacular but very different. So it's open to all this kind of stuff. And as a group, we'll kind of sit down with it all, take a look at it, and figure out which one kind of hits those marks the best. You know what I mean? Something very creative could topple everything else, but if no one sends in artwork, then, you know, one guy who just flooded the world with tweets for a while promoting us, he wins.
Yeah.
So it's kind of open. I think it's all over the place. It's a little open, and we're going to try and be real cool and fair about it. Winners will be judged on creativity, breadth of exposure, and level of commitment. Everything submitted becomes property of the show. Contest ends noon Eastern on Friday, September 14th, which is 4 days after the finale. And that's because that's the period that, as a show, we need to be promoting. Like, even after the show is over, we're trying to get people to listen to this episode, that finale episode of us. So the next couple of days after it, we try to keep it alive. So that window is there. Now, on that following Saturday is when we're going to announce the winner on the Wicked Theory podcast. So you don't have to listen to it live necessarily. We'll announce it on Monday, and I'll also contact you via emails or whatever. But that's how that's going to work. So
Cool.
Just as a reminder, the idea is to see how hard you can promote this podcast and back it up and support us and get the word out for us. Whichever way you want to do that, tag it with, hashtag it with Absolute PVP. Tag the podcast on Twitter at Preach vs. Preach if you can. But like I said, compile it all into an email. If you want to be definitely sure that we see it, send it to pvp@wickedtheory.com. I'm going to put up a post on the website on wickedtheory.com that's going to just say all this again in case you're not sure. And if you got questions, you can obviously tag me in a comment or a question on Twitter, on either account, on my account at Wicked Theory on Twitter or at Preach vs. Preach. And I'll try and help out. Anybody's got, because of whatever they're going to do, like, hey, does this work? I don't know. Outside the box is what we're really looking for. Like, somebody did something crazy.
Right.
It would be awesome. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody to get hurt or arrested. But that would be pretty awesome if you got hurt or arrested doing something.
And you'll probably automatically win.
Yeah, probably. Just out of sympathy.
Yeah.
Sympathy win. Well, you got to pay bail. I hope that offsets the cost of the book somehow.
Yeah.
If you're wondering if all this is worth it, if the book is worth it, look for it online.
There you go.
You got the first books out there. you can definitely see that and get the idea of what that's all about.
Yeah.
So to give you every idea of why you got to work this hard for this.
That's it, And if you're digging the show and, it's an open market. And what's good about it all being under that hashtag is if you want to see what other people are doing or if anybody's actually doing anything, maybe nobody else even tries and you're the only one. You would automatically win by default. But, look up the hashtag, absolute PvP, and that's how you could keep track of see what other people are doing, But if you're worried, that your thing over on Instagram might not get seen or your Facebook thing may not get seen, make sure that that's in an email sent to us with all that shit. Because, not for nothing, we might not see it all.
Right.
But we're going to try to. The goal is to try to. So with that, like I said, any questions, contact us or even email the show about it. So with that now engaged and done.
Go do it, kids. It's going to be fun.
I can't wait to see anything. Just something.
Yeah.
So go crazy, kids. Go crazy. Definitely go crazy. So that's going to run for the next couple of weeks. And you obviously have time. It's not about...
Very cool.
It's not about blanketing your Twitter followers in one day. And trust me, if you're a person who has like a lot of Twitter followers, that obviously means much more than, like if I have 4, and I'm tweeting out your stuff, I love you. But if this guy comes along, he's got 40,000 followers and he's tweeting us once a day, hey, that's shit. That's exposure. And that's what we're trying to get. We're trying to get some listeners, some more listeners on this show. And hey, it is what it is. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody playing along.
Absolutely, please.
And taking the time to even listen to this show. How about that? So, any final words from the gentleman across the table?
Good luck.
Nope.
Good luck.
Work hard.
Young Padawans.
Yes.
All right. So with that, we are going to wrap it up. If people want to follow Dom,
Yeah.
where are you at?
On Twitter at Dom_Tory.
If people want to follow you, Bob, where can they follow you?
I am at Bob WTPC.
And once again, I am at Wicked Theory. The show can be found on Stitcher, Google Play, and iTunes. Subscribe, rate, and review, because that shit's awesome. And like I said, check out the contest. And then from here on, it's all about finding a way to segue into saying until the end of the world.
Any segue is a good segue.
Even if it's like literally just segueing.